Greetings, this is Grammar Lesson 7.1 on prepositional phrases and how they can be used as adjective and adverb phrases in sentences. You'll be able to apply conventions of standard English and correctly use adjective and adverb prepositional phrases to convey meaning. You'll be able also to be in a better position to write by helping your readers visualize objects, people, and actions by using prepositional phrases to add specific details. Now, what are prepositional phrases? They always begin with a preposition, like, for example, with, in, and so on. And they always end with an object, which is either it's a noun or a pronoun. Let's take this for the example. Now, this phrase starts with the word under, which is a preposition, and ends with a noun, which is the object of this preposition. And in between, of course, you might have some words like another object or an adjective or a modifier that modifies that object or preposition. Similarly, as with the earlier example that had an adjective in the prepositional phrase, prepositional phrases also can have a compound object. For example, to her, me starts with the preposition to and is followed by two objects joined by and. The first one is her, which is the first object of preposition, and the second one is me, which is the second object of preposition. So, what do prepositional phrases do in a sentence? If you look at this example, the book on the bathroom floor is falling from shower steam. Now, if you look at the prepositional phrase which is on the bathroom floor, this prepositional phrase, it tells more about the book. Which book in this case? So, which book is that? It's the book which is on the bathroom floor. So it modifies the word before, which is book. In this case, the prepositional phrase functions as an adjective. So one way to use prepositional phrase is to add an adjective to help visualize that object, which is the book. In addition to that, if you look at the other prepositional phrase, which is from, which is from shower steam, for example. Now, this one does not modify the book, but modifies the manner how it is fallen. So in this case, this phrase modifies the verb is fallen. Is fallen is the passive form of the verb. In this case, this prepositional phrase is functioning as an adverb. Another example, the sweet potatoes in the vegetable bin are green with mold. Now if you look at the first example, the first prepositional phrase which is in the vegetable bin, which starts with the preposition, it ends with the object preposition. Now this one modifies what kind of potatoes. So, what kind of potatoes are they? They are the potatoes in the vegetable bin. In this case, this prepositional phrase functions as an adjective. If you look at the second prepositional phrase, which is with mold, and you ask the question, what kind of green are they? So, with the word green here is actually a predicate adjective, which is following an indicative verb. So, if the prepositional phrase modifies the adjective green in this case, then it functions as an adverb here. Another example to clarify on how prepositional phrases can function as adverbs in sentences. If you look at this example, Ibrahim is stiff from yesterday's long football practice. Now the prepositional phrase starts with the preposition from, and of course ends with the object of preposition, which is practice. So he's stiff from practice. What kind of practice? Yesterday's long football practice. So the whole thing is a prepositional phrase. And it answers the question of in what manner is he stiff, or what is the reason that he's stiff from? Is stiff from the practice. So in this case, this prepositional phrase modifies stiff and not Ibrahim. So, since stiff is an adjective, in this sentence is a predicate adjective, then the prepositional phrase is an adverb. Still another example. Before class, Rama begged her friends for a pencil. Now, if you look at the first prepositional phrase, which is before class, and you ask the question of when did Rama beg her friends for a pencil, then the answer is before class. In this case, before class modifies begged, which is the verb. So in this case, before class functions as an adverb. Similarly, if you look at the other prepositional phrase, which is for a pencil. Now, it looks like for a pencil might be modifying French, but it's not. And if you look at the logic of the sentence, you would ask the question, for what did Rama beg her friends? She begged her friends for a pencil. In this case, for a pencil modifies also begged. In this case, for a pencil is also an adverb. One last tip before we leave this lesson. If you look at the first sentence, during the sleep he fell off. Now the first prepositional phrase, during the sleep, modifies fell, which is answering the question of when. When did he fall? The answer is during sleep. Now this off is also a preposition, but it's standing alone. Now if you compare this with the second sentence, which is he fell off his bed, which is followed by a noun and its modifier, then there's a huge difference between them. The first one, where it stands alone, is no more a preposition, but is called an adverb, while this one is called a preposition because it's followed by a noun and its modifiers. So whenever a preposition is not followed by anything, where it stands alone, then it's not a preposition anymore. It's only an adverb that's modifying fell.